What happened between Argentina and Egypt was a masterclass in psychological resilience. It was soccer in its most absolute, unpredictable, and beautiful form, a story that seemed to be written in soccer heaven. But less than 24 hours later, once the dust began to settle in Georgia, a completely different shockwave shook the halls of political power. In Europe, as the sun rose on July 8th, the euphoria over Argentina's survival was met with a clinical, unprecedented, and forceful legal offensive. 50 members of the European Parliament, representing 13 different nations, officially broke their silence and launched a coordinated campaign, demanding an immediate and sweeping investigation into FIFA President Gianni Infantino. They did not see a miracle in Atlanta. They saw the symptom of a deeply compromised system. For the first time during an active World Cup tournament, the man sitting at the very top of international soccer is facing formal accusations of systemic favoritism, political collusion, and corporate manipulation. This is no longer just a sports story. This is an open battle for the soul of the 2026 World Cup, and the walls are closing in fast on Gianni Infantino. To understand why the political world suddenly intervened in the middle of a tournament, we have to look closely at what really happened on that field in Georgia. Egypt entered the round of 16 as a massive underdog, a team expected to be nothing more than another stepping stone for Lionel Scaloni's star-studded squad. However, 15 minutes into the match, the script was completely shattered. Yasser Ibrahim rose completely unmarked, overpowering the Argentine defense to send a powerful header into the back of the net. Argentina looked deeply shaken, without the fluidity or composure that had allowed them to win the trophy 4 years earlier. The drama only grew when Argentina was handed a lifeline through a first-half penalty. The stage was set for Lionel Messi to level the score, but instead, an inspired Mustafa Shubir guessed correctly and made a stunning save to deny the legend. It was Messi's second missed penalty of the tournament, and the stadium fell into a strange, disbelieving, almost ghostly silence. When Mustafa Zico doubled Egypt's lead in the 67th minute with a clinical finish, a historic World Cup upset seemed completely secure. The African continent was on the verge of celebrating one of its greatest nights in sports history. Then, the atmospheric pressure of the match changed completely. What followed in the final 15 minutes was a relentless Argentine attack, but it was accompanied by a series of highly controversial refereeing interventions. The clock seemed to stretch endlessly. Defensive rhythms were interrupted by consecutive VAR interventions at an almost microscopic level, and an astonishing amount of stoppage time opened exactly the window the reigning champion needed to survive. By the time Enzo Fernandez scored the decisive third goal, the Egyptian players were physically exhausted and emotionally destroyed. In a chaotic post-match sequence, the referee showed a shocking total of 5 yellow cards to the Egyptian side during stoppage time alone, including goalkeeper Mustafa Shubir, midfielder Hamdi Fati, and Marwan Attia, as they furiously protested what they felt was a calculated and systematically designed elimination. Argentina advanced to the quarterfinals to face Switzerland, but the match left a deeply bitter taste in the mouths of soccer purists around the world. Was it a legendary comeback, or did the invisible machinery of soccer's governing body step in to make sure its most profitable commercial asset did not leave the United States on an early flight? The fallout from Atlanta acted as the ultimate catalyst for an explosion that had been brewing behind the scenes for months. On July 8, 2026, the European Parliament moved from passive observation to aggressive action. The 50 lawmakers took the extraordinary step of sending an official and urgent letter directly to the soccer associations of all 27 European Union member states. Their objective is clear: to force a unified continental front that corners Zurich. The lawmakers are explicitly calling on the FIFA Ethics Committee to remove Infantino's administrative immunity and open an immediate investigation into his executive conduct. This is not an exaggerated emotional reaction from a group of angry fans. It is a highly calculated, legally grounded political maneuver by European lawmakers who argue that Infantino's regime is fundamentally violating its own structural rules. According to FIFA's strict code of ethics, the president and all executive members are legally required to maintain absolute political neutrality, full commercial transparency, and sporting integrity. The European lawmakers, working alongside human rights lobbying groups and the growing Reboot FIFA campaign, argue that under the current administration, those rules have been systematically dismantled for nearly a decade. European soccer authorities and FIFA have maintained a tense and fragile truce, but this latest document represents a total escalation. Not since 2015, when the European Parliament demanded the immediate resignation of Sepp Blatter amid the infamous FIFAgate corruption scandal, have we seen this level of political consensus against a sitting FIFA president. The core of the complaint is devastating. It argues that international soccer has moved away from pure meritocracy and has become a carefully curated entertainment product, where corporate convenience outweighs sporting justice. To truly understand the seriousness of these accusations of favoritism, we have to go back to the winter of 2025 during the official World Cup draw at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. It was there that Infantino made a decision that shook international diplomacy and sports governance. Unilaterally and completely bypassing the usual consultation protocols of the FIFA Council, Infantino introduced the first FIFA Peace Prize. The first recipient of this prestigious recognition was none other than United States President Donald Trump. The image of the FIFA president handing a gold-plated award to the political leader of a co-hosting nation, while representatives from Mexico and Canada looked on, sparked immediate condemnation. The human rights organization Fair Square immediately filed a formal ethics complaint, stating that the move was a textbook violation of Article 15 of the FIFA Code of Ethics, which strictly prohibits officials from using their positions to endorse political figures or agendas. At the time, only the Norwegian Football Federation, led by the fiercely independent Lisa Klaveness, had the courage to support the complaint. Today, those 50 European lawmakers have adopted Fair Square's arguments word for word, demanding that the Ethics Committee determine whether this prize was an abuse of power designed to secure political influence inside the United States. But the political collusion goes even deeper, transforming from a public relations scandal into a direct scandal of sporting integrity during this very tournament. The European Parliament's letter highlights a shocking development that has placed UEFA on an absolute war footing with FIFA. It was revealed that Donald Trump directly contacted Gianni Infantino, actively requesting an executive review and the suspension of an automatic one-match ban imposed on U.S. men's national team forward Fuller and Balogun after a red card. The fact that a head of state would openly intervene in the disciplinary mechanisms of an active World Cup is unprecedented. The fact that FIFA reportedly entertained those conversations led European lawmakers to accuse Infantino of allowing external political pressure to dictate the rules of the competition. The complaints do not stop at political deals made behind closed doors. The demand for an investigation directly targets the aggressive corporate capture of the global game under Infantino's watch. The lawmakers point directly to the multi-billion-dollar sponsorship deals signed with state-backed megacorporations, especially Saudi Aramco. Presented as one of the most lucrative partnerships in sports history, this agreement is seen by European authorities as a sign that aligning the world's most important tournament with state-backed entities contradicts FIFA's public commitments to human rights and regulatory transparency. When you look at the bigger picture, the timeline becomes highly suspicious to investigators. The massive injection of state capital, the uncontested awarding of the 2034 World Cup, the unprecedented political maneuvers in Washington, and the sudden, highly debated refereeing patterns that appear to consistently protect high-profile teams like Argentina all point to the same conclusion. The European Parliament is alleging that FIFA's commercial and political interests have become so enormous that they are actively distorting the fairness of the game itself. The geopolitical consequences of this intervention are already fracturing the soccer world along historic lines. In Cairo and across the African continent, the mood is one of deep and justifiable fury. The Egyptian Football Association has held emergency meetings, and while it is navigating the enormous legal complexities involved in making formal corruption accusations, the sentiment is clear. African nations feel systematically marginalized. There is a toxic and growing belief that the tournament's structures and refereeing standards are heavily tilted to ensure that global superstars remain in the competition for as long as possible, in order to maximize television ratings, stadium revenue, and corporate sponsorships. Meanwhile, in Zurich, the silence from FIFA headquarters is incredibly revealing. Infantino, normally known for his combative and deeply defensive press conferences, has completely withdrawn from the public eye since the European Parliament's letter became public. Historically, FIFA has fiercely protected its autonomy by using its ultimate weapon, threatening to suspend any national soccer association if its local governments interfere in soccer operations. but threatening to suspend the major soccer powers of Western Europe is a nuclear option that FIFA simply cannot afford to execute. This standoff places major organizations in an incredibly delicate position. If these powerful federations formally align themselves with Norway and the European Parliament, it will unleash an internal civil war within the sport that will completely overshadow the remaining matches of this World Cup. We are currently living through a World Cup cycle that is delivering some of the most spectacular and breathtaking matches we have ever seen. The 90 minutes between Argentina and Egypt in Atlanta gave us everything we love about this sport: raw heartbreak, impossible comebacks, and the absolute limits of human emotion. But as fans, we are being forced to confront a deeply uncomfortable reality. Can we truly appreciate the magic of a stoppage-time winning goal when the very integrity of the governing body behind the tournament is facing a historic and systemic challenge from international lawmakers? The illusion of a completely fair and unbiased tournament has been shattered, and the beautiful game has never felt so compromised. But the ultimate power in soccer does not reside in the executive offices of Zurich or the legislative halls of Brussels. It belongs to the millions of fans who tune in to the matches, buy the jerseys, and fill the stadiums. Does this unprecedented political intervention from Europe change the way you view the dramatic late-stage results we are witnessing on the field in 2026? Or do you believe this is simply a political maneuver aimed at a wildly successful tournament? The comment section is completely open for your thoughts.